there are some crazy people out there online. Well, you didn't fill out the form. That's what you get, you know. You didn't fill out the form. You have to fill out the form, stupid. Don't you know what you're doing? You should know that when you're living overseas. People should move overseas if they don't know what they're doing. You should always have the form. Everybody knows the form. You can get the form. You should have gotten the form. You're lazy. Goes back at you, says, dude, the guy said this and blah, blah, blah. And they go back and forth. You shut up. No, you shut up. Did you even watch the video? You know, before you start pontificating on the content of a video, try watching the video. Oh, you're a whore. I didn't make my channel so you could just, you know, debate political philosophies between knuckleheads or whatever. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, speaking of which, yeah, my wife crashed her motorcycle almost into the back of my truck in the driveway right here last night. She comes up and it's gravel driveway. She couldn't stop. She had to just lay it down and act. You don't. Google it, research it. Look at the Numinant system. But does that mean that there isn't fraud? No, of course not. There's a shit ton of fraud out there. Whoa there. Hey, hello, and good morning, my fellow compatriots. I am here in Thailand. I'm an immigrant to Thailand. And I recently, I'm gonna sit down over here. Oh yeah, by the way, that's my view. I recently posted a video about Social Security suspending my payment that I get every month on the 3rd. And you know, I have a small channel, and but I got about 400 or 500, maybe closer to 500 videos about my life here on my Thai farm in Thailand, hanging out and stuff like that. But actually I've made a couple of Social Security videos, mostly because in talking with other immigrants or expatriates here in the country and some online, they shared common questions, I suppose, and or challenges. And so being that I'm, you know, big research guy, I thought, well, I could expand on that, and certainly in this last one share what was happening to me, which was the suspension of my payment, which, by the way, it's still suspended. Today's the 16th maybe, or something, 17th, and it was due on the 3rd. It comes on the 3rd for people that are overseas. Otherwise it's based on your birthday, unless you're SSDI, actually SSI too, that comes on the 1st. But SSI, to clarify something I said in my last video, I mean, I mentioned SSI, but I probably should have added further clarification, because you can get SSI overseas, but it is a needs-based payment, and it's really only for people that are in America. But if you're military overseas, and if you have a child that's disabled, you can still receive your SSI overseas. Actually, even if you're receiving SSI in the States and you travel overseas to study, like say to get training, you can still receive your SSI overseas for up to a year, as long as the training is related to like trying to help you get gainful employment or get a skill or whatever that helps you maybe get off SSI or whatever. So there are some small windows for you to still receive SSI payments overseas, but in my previous video it might have sounded like that you could get SSI overseas like the same as you would for SSDI. And although they both have the disability attachment in there, they're not actually the same. Anyway, but yeah, so I wanted to make this video because that video that I made for the Social Security about my payment, oh my god, dude, the thing just blew up I didn't anticipate that. I anticipated to stir up a little few things because my previous video about spousal support, you know, getting, I think I said non-U.S. citizens get free Social Security or something like that. So that one got, I don't know, it was not that money. It was like a few thousand views or something like that. And a lot of great conversation in there about how to get it and could I get a lot of questions. And I like that part where they ask questions that I can answer them. In this video, it's like almost 100,000 views right now. Oh my God. I would have never thought that. Not even. But of course, now that I can look at it in hindsight, I can say, holy shit, man, this is, you know, it was a political hot button. Like, not even a football. It was like being punted. And I can tell from all the comments that one, there are some crazy people out there online. And so my comments, I have to kind of tread lightly, man. I swear I can't say everything I would want to say because I would set fire to the internet as well, probably. And frankly, you know, I don't really want to say, you know, a bunch of negative stuff anyway, because it just, you know, it takes water out of my own cup, you know what I mean? But those comments, and I thought I would address a couple that were glaring for me that, you know, I wanted to kind of not dispute, but, you know, I got to set the record straight because other people read these comments and maybe they believe them too or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, so the comments were, you know, they were all over the map with respect, you know, and the biggest comment that that I took issue with was, I don't know if take issue is the right word, but the biggest comment was irritating was people that were saying, well, you didn't fill out the form. That's what you get, you know. Like, you didn't fill out the form. You have to fill out the form, stupid. Don't you know what you're doing? You should know that when you're living overseas. People should move overseas if they don't know what they're doing. You should always have the form. Everybody knows the form. You can get the form. You should have gotten the form. You're lazy. But I mean, just lighten it up as if I was stupid. You know, and that's what I took issue with because one, hello, I've already shared that. Of course I knew about the form, and I wasn't supposed to receive the form yet. I was supposed to get it for the first time this year in like July or between May and June, July, get the form this year and send it off by like November or whatever, or send it off right away. And if I didn't, they'd send me another one in November, blah, blah, blah. But I wasn't even supposed to get the form. So why am I suspended now? That was the problem. But people didn't seem to understand that. And then I remembered when I was looking last night that I had this pamphlet that Social Security sent me when I had moved overseas or whatever. Your payments while you were outside the United States. And I just want to quote this one thing. It says under this about receiving your money, it says you'll receive a questionnaire every year if you're 90 years or over, you have a representative payee, kind of like you incapacitated or whatever, or somebody else is handling that for you, are not receiving benefits as a spouse, surviving spouse, parent, special age 72 payments, or surviving spouse with a disability. So you would get those every year because, you know, you're close to dead or whatever. But it says you will receive a questionnaire between May and June every 2 years if you are receiving benefits as a spouse, surviving spouse, parent, special age, 72 payments, surviving spouse with disability, live in one of the countries listed below, and do not meet conditions for a questionnaire, which has a list of countries, and Thailand is not on one of those, because they don't. It does meet the conditions for a questionnaire. It says if you are supposed to receive a questionnaire every 2 years, which is me, we will mail your questionnaire in even numbered years if the last two numbers of your social security number are 00 through 49, which would mean that they would have mailed my document last May or June so that I could receive it, you know, and not have to miss February payment. If my social security number ended between 00 and 49, it doesn't. My last two are 88. If your social security numbers are numbered 50 through 99, you will receive your document in odd number years. Oh, that's 2025. So yeah, I'm supposed to have received it. Maybe, hell, maybe I even will receive it because it's only February. So I'm sounding like I'm upset, but I'm not. I'm just like, dude, do we need research before you answer questions or before you post stuff in the you know, comment section? That's the biggest thing for me. I mean, when I first had these comments coming in, I was like, oh, cool, you know, there's a lot of people that are commenting on my video, and in the history of my channel, you know, with the, like, say, almost 500 videos, you know, 99.5 or whatever % of all comments that people have left are good, positive comments. There's like, you know, when I very first started my channel, there was like one guy who said another yank, or another delusional yank, or something like that, you know, about retirement back here. But, you know, for the most part, it's all been positive. It's all positive spin on my retirement and all that stuff. And nobody goes back and forth at each other or anything like that. But fair enough. I never really, I mean, I got, there's probably 10,000 comments in there or something like that, and they're all pretty good stuff. But for this one video, and there's probably, I'm guessing, closer to 3,500 or more comments. I initially, when I saw the video and it was taken off, it had maybe 2,000 views or whatever. I thought, whoa, we're getting a lot of views there, because my average videos are probably getting, you know, whatever. I mean, a few of them might get 5,000 or 10,000 views, but most of them only get a few hundred at best. So this one was going up with a couple of thousand. I immediately said, oh, well, I want to reply to the comments, because, you know, that was like my thing. I always made sure that with all my videos and all the comments that I commented back. I either said something like, you know, I might have sent back a few sentences, which is I like to do sometimes, or I at least said, yeah, right on, or hey, thanks, or whatever. Or now YouTube, depending on what you write as a comment to me, YouTube will select a response to that you can just click on, and that sentence will go in there, and then it makes it easier to reply. And it's actually kind of sounds, and it's AI, I can tell, because some of the comments that were produced for me sound like me, like right on, or, you know, bro, or whatever. It actually says that, although I wish it would do that for all of them and make it easier to respond. But it only does it for some of them. But I can see that it's based on what it responds to what someone else writes. So if they say something, but anyway, I always tried to comment on every single person, and I really did it. I maybe one or two out of, you know, whatever 500 videos, maybe one or two I didn't respond to. But in YouTube, you can actually go to your comment section and filter by those that you didn't reply. And then, you know, much easier to reply in case you forgot one. So, but anyway, so I did that. So on this video, I was like, yeah, let's go ahead, let's start replying, you know. And that first night, I swear to God, I sat there for probably 4 hours. Probably 4 hours replying. And I found myself most often clarifying that. You know, answering it just like that. I said, hello, did you not watch the video? You know, I mean, I didn't say it like that, but I said, well, yeah, you know, I know what the rule is, and yeah, and it works like this, and that's like that. But in the YouTube analytics, you can also it also shows the average view duration of the person watching the video. That video I made, I think, was 29 minutes. Just talked about it pretty much talked about this issue the whole time. There were a couple other caveats in there about this and that, whatever, but for the most part, it was the whole thing was that, right? So the average view duration was like 7 or 9 minutes. Well, if most of all those people are only clicking through sections of the video and skipping and this and that, and they're only getting a certain amount of information, then they're going to comment on that information. Maybe if you just took a little bit of time and watched the video, you'd answer some of those questions that you didn't, so you didn't have to post those kind of statements. And so yeah, and because what happens also is when you are not informed, i.e. you're not listening to the whole video, you wind up saying something in the comments, and then someone else who maybe has watched more or whatever goes back at you and says, dude, the guy said this and blah blah blah, and they go back and forth. You shut up. No, you shut up. You know, and there were times, I mean, there were some of that stuff where, you know, I wanted to respond, you know, kind of harshly, because, you know, I probably at the end, like when I was doing about 4 hours worth of commenting, I was already like, I'm fed up, man. Are you freaking that ignorant? You know, and ignorant refers to a lack of knowledge, right? But yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I anticipated this day. You know, I thought when I was doing my YouTube channel, I thought, how am I going to respond to all, let's say, the haters? Because I watch other YouTube channels, and that's really why I reply to all my comments, or at least until now. Because I remembered when I was first looking at YouTube videos and stuff, and I would like what they were saying, and I would make a comment like, dude, you know, you should try this, or dude, that was awesome, or whatever. And like maybe they have 100,000 subscribers or something, or 1 million subscribers or something, and they would reply to me. I would get a reply. I wasn't really expecting a reply, but they'd say, oh, I totally know what you mean, or something like that. And I felt like I don't know, it just felt better about watching the video because they replied to me. You know, I mean, you know, kind of sounds pathetic maybe because I was looking for the reply, but you know, anyway, so I felt like, well, hey, you know, I remember feeling good about being replied to in the video, so I try to reply. That's why I really do it. And that's what a lot of people do I think they engage in your videos because, you know, they want the engagement, or they like the engagement. So, but with respect to the comments, yeah, I had to stop. After, like I say, like it's probably 4 hours, something like that. I mean, I still make a couple of replies now, but I really had to stop because towards the end, and it was actually late, right? So here I was replying to the comments, and seemingly a lot of them replying with the same message. And actually so much so where I actually even copied my initial answer to that question and then wound up pasting that in several other similar comments because it was the same answer over and over. And but yeah, so I just got so tired, and as I started to get tired, I noticed I started to get more I don't know if offended is the word, or combative. But I started to be a little bit more aggressive in the way I responded, like, you know, or I think I actually did say once, did you even watch the video? You know, before you start pontificating on the content of a video, try watching the video to get the answers, you know, this kind of stuff. But what was really kind of disturbing actually on some of these comments, and if you're going to be commenting on video, please think about your comments, man. Fortunately, very few comments, like I say, there's thousands and thousands of comments. Very few are directed at me, like personally. Like, you know, oh, you're a whore. Some person, one person said that. They said, oh, you should quit. I think he said quit. No, he didn't say quit lying. Oh, I think he said, yeah, you know, this is just another clickbait whore for clicks and stuff. And I'm, dude, one, it's not clickbait. I don't do this for clickbait. I know how to create clickbait because I see clickbait. I mean, it's easy for me to put a big old sexy picture up there and the word Social Security and have everybody and their mother click on that, you know. But my title in that previous video was really from the Social Security Administration news, so I wasn't making up anything, and it was basically everything I said in there was factual from the Social Security website. Otherwise, other than what the government had reported, what they were saying, and this and that. So I didn't make anything up. There was no clickbait, but clearly it was a hot button topic because people are concerned, and I know from reading all the comments, and I read every single comment, many of them more than once, and so I'm sure that I'm getting the understanding. There's a lot of people that were like me. They all, you know, they didn't get their money. Their things were suspended. Some of them are getting ready to retire, and they want to make sure they don't get suspended. And some of them are in, like, there's a guy in Ecuador who doesn't even have mail, and he's been suffering for like 2 years without it or whatever. And there's people in all different countries that are, you know, saying, I don't have my check, and I'm a man, and I'm having this problem, and I sent that thing to them like 20 freaking times, you know, and I understand that, but I still, you know, in the bigger picture, those, myself included, the people that are not receiving their or they got a suspension on their Social Security, you know, we're very much probably the minority. You know, it's not a big government conspiracy out there to shut down Social Security and you know, suspend all the payments of all the people in the whole world. And you know, there's 700,000 plus people out there that are overseas recipients, I believe. And no, it's not like that. I was aware of this proof of life, if you want to call it that. It's not called that. I mean, people even in the comments were calling it certain things as if they knew. And no, it's a questionnaire. It's a FEQ or whatever. It's a questionnaire. You know, they ask you 4 questions. You know, you divorced? Did you move? Do you still live with your disabled kid or whatever? And have you worked? You know, and you pretty much know on those, and you sign it at the bottom and you send it off. It's very simple. So simple, in fact. Why aren't they doing it electronically? But anyway, so yeah, so what happens is with all the comments, and I think genuinely because people don't watch the video enough, or didn't watch the video enough, or just genuinely want to hop on to any hot topic that has to deal with the government because of the whole split in political philosophies. Clearly there was a shit ton of Democratic comments and Republican comments, or Republican and Democrat, if you want to say it like that, and they were pretty much split down the middle. Although, and again, that's perception. There's this one comment, a lady said, she said, oh, she goes, this channel sucks. Can't even have a decent conversation and debate without all these Democrats or Trump haters or something like that in their comments or something like that. And I was like, she was one of the later night ones. I think I responded using her name. I forget what her name was, but I was like, seriously? I got like almost 500 videos about my life here on Thailand in the farm. That's what my channel is. I make one video about Social Security missing my payment, and now my channel sucks because you can't debate someone in the conversation. I didn't make my channel so you could just, debate political philosophies between knuckleheads or whatever. Yeah, and then there was, I'm trying to remember some of the more notable ones, conversations. Most of the comments were really, the most popular one, like I said, was the one regarding, oh, fill out the form, you lazy bastard, or whatever. And then someone would, clarify and try and copy the law or copy the regulation from the SSA website and put it in there and stuff. And I appreciate those. And of course, like I say, I responded to everybody that I could, but I only responded to, I probably did 400 or 500 replies, out of those 3,000 or 4,000 comments. And but yeah, it was disturbing. I mean, these people on both sides, and it's also accusing me of being part of the problem and all this. And I don't know how, the FAFO, whatever abbreviation or whatever, right? Acronym, right? That's the fuck around and find out. Oh man, I must have seen 100, 200, 300 of those. Well, this is what you get when you vote for Trump. Or this is what you get when you let the stealing going on for the last, 4 years. And oh my God, it's just unbelievable. They go, and then of course when someone says that, the other side goes back and forth at them, just attacking them. I mean, they don't know me. They don't know who I voted for. They don't even know if I'm Democratic or Republican or freaking independent or whatever. I voted Democrat in the past. I voted Republican in the past. I voted independent in the past. Matter of fact, when Rocky came out, I wrote his name in. I fucking voted for Rocky, Sylvester Stallone. So, I vote for whoever I believe is gonna do the right thing. Pretty simple. I'm not one of these people like, oh, you have to be part of the party. No, that's stupid. If you vote for who's gonna do something good, you don't have to like that person. But if you believe that person's gonna do the right thing, you should be voting for that person, in my book. Sadly, 90 million Americans last year did not vote at all. And some of the comments were about, all you people overseas, you don't vote, it's your fault. I'm not sure that that's accurate. Matter of fact, I'd say most people overseas probably fall into the category of being Republican, and half of those, they probably are non-voters because they've been here forever, or they're kind of far removed from American way of life and they don't want to deal with it or whatever. So anyway, but so attacking me for something that they have no idea about, that's another thing. It's stupid. But I also saw a lot of people that took the opportunity, because it's in the chat, right? So they're in the comments, and these people that just go back and forth. Oh my God, I've read some crazy comments on other videos, other channels and this and that, but this one, it's still going. It's still going today if you want to get in on it. But this, speaking of politics, so this one lady, her comment got lit up by everybody, but she says, thank God for President Trump. Trump is a god he should be prayed to every morning, get down on our knees. He has been anointed by, you know, God or whatever. I mean, just goes totally into, he's a religious icon. And I don't care who you vote for as president. If you think that a human, a person, is at that level, you got mental health issues. You probably need medication. As a matter of fact, the very first reply to that lady was another lady who, first thing she said was like, hey, I'm Republican, but bitch, you crazy. And then it went on and on and on. There was other people that were saying, you know, pretty much saying the same thing and saying, you know, because, and also what other people were saying with that lady's comments were that she was making, you know, Republicans look bad or Trump supporters look bad, which I think it does. I think if you are over the top, if you're pushing so hard, you know, for your candidate, then you actually you're not helping the matter, you know. And it's the same with Musk. I mean, there were plenty of comments in there where thankful that we have Musk. You know, you need to give him all your support. You need to do everything you can for Musk. You know, he's gonna do the great things and all this and stuff. Well, if you want to do that, fine. If you give him your support, 110%, whatever. But if you start creating your sentences and your comments in these different video sites where it appears that you are, you know, head over heels, then, you know, that's probably not doing too well for you. I mean, more factually, I think, you know, I can appreciate certainly the idea that Musk is, or that I should say that there is a Department of Government Efficiency. That, I believe there probably has been, it's probably been called something else, and there's all like the watchdogs and all other stuff, but efficiency maybe was not the strong point, and so now it becomes a stronger point, and that's probably a good thing, because yeah, as I referred in my last video, you know, in my suspension of my, or is, because it's still suspended, a result of, you know, the government efficiency. I didn't say efficiency, but now I can say that. I mean, is it this whole Department of Government Efficiency thing that's throwing a wrench in Social Security? And the answer is no. I mean, I suppose there might be some angle, but the reality is that no amount of government efficiency that's currently happening or whatever can affect my payments in terms of the amount of money I get and stuff like that. That's a whole act of Congress. You know, if they want to lower our payments or increase them or whatever, they have to pass a law to do that. Just like they did with the, you know, windfall elimination provision, government pension offset. I mentioned that earlier in my other video. Yeah, that was a law. That's the only way they could change that. You can't change it with executive order. It was a law. They passed a law. So nothing's going to affect our Social Security unless it's made into law. No matter what, you know, the Department of Government Efficiency is doing or whatever. Could there be some other wrenches they could throw in it? Possibly, but, you know, but I still am curious as to why I got suspended. Oh, my battery died right there. And I don't know if it's probably heard in this video, sirens. Looks like there was a motorcycle accident in front of my farm out there. There's like 3 or 4 motorcycles out there and 3 or 4 ambulances, so I don't know what's going on. Anyway, speaking of which, yeah, my wife crashed her motorcycle almost into the back of my truck in the driveway right here last night. She comes up and it's gravel driveway. She couldn't stop. She had to just lay it down and try and jump off. Oh, she's all black and blue today. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, so I still don't know why I'm suspended. Leaning towards the whole document thing, but if I wasn't supposed to get my document until this year for the first time, maybe it is because of something else that I have no idea what it is. So I will be interested to find out in the end, when they finally do contact me and I finally do sort this out, what it was for. And I'll probably, for sure, I'll be mentioning it in a video, whether on video like when I'm finishing up my house build over there or whatever, and somewhere I'll mention that. But yeah, again, the comments, that's why I wanted to make this video, was to talk more about comments and when you guys comment on the videos and stuff. And I really appreciate the comments. I like comments, especially the ones that talk to me normally and where we have normal conversations and stuff. But one of the things I noticed I need to deal with, like, you know, or I need to be aware of, is that when I'm reading the comments, they're not actually all directed to me. They're, you know, if the guy says something like, well, you're an idiot and that's why that happened, or there's like this, it may very well actually be directed to someone else that's in the comments. And so, and that's where it kind of started leaning to. In the beginning, it was all about me, you know, me versus them, so to speak, in the comments, and, you know, having that conversation. And then as it got more and more comments, you know, more 1,000, like 2,000, 3,000, like that, they started going after each other. And then I realized that I shouldn't be replying to that comment because it really is not me. I mean, it's unclear, but if it's unclear, then it's likely not me. It's just their general statement. The general statement, especially like, say, the FAFO one. You know, they would just put the letters FAFO on the comment and scroll down. Well, are you telling me that that's because I fucked around and found out, whatever? You know, and in reality, it's not. They're just spitting out some general statement because, you know, they want to or whatever. You know. Yeah, so I forgot. I had other comments. Let me try and think for a minute. I'm distracted by the motorcycle wreck out there. And, you know, speaking of distracted, that's part of it too. And part of this, I should say, this whole thing with the Department of Government Efficiency it's very distracting. I mean, all of the changes that are happening, you know, within the U.S. government right now, you know, they're distracting, not from the real issues or whatever. They're distracting from whatever you're doing. You know, if you're going to work or you're driving home or you're doing your stuff or you're living on a farm in Thailand, it can be distracting if you catch up on it, you know. And some of it, and within that distraction, there are certain elements, I'm sure, that, well, are deceiving, you know, or they take advantage of the distraction maybe to deceive you and stuff like that. And, you know, they'll just take a comment off of somebody's news channel or something and spin it into a whole new thing or whatever. Actually, within the comments, that's right, one of the more popular comments was the reference to the billions or millions of people, you know, they would say overseas, but millions of people that are dead, 112, 150 years old, that are getting Social Security. Okay, so clearly those people either interpreted something that was on the news, or from a news pundit or a talk show personality or a radio show personality, or that person, Bob's News or whatever, actually said that. And they're really just, that's a lie. Okay, that doesn't work that way. Please help me. If you think that I am wrong on anything I say, then bring the receipts and call me out on it. Don't just sit there and tell me I'm wrong. You got facts, link the facts in the description or in the comments, or send me an email or whatever with the links because it's too much or whatever. But bring the receipts. Don't sit there and say that you think you know. The reason I know is because I've done the research. I'm not going to provide you all the links and all that stuff. I don't need to do that. I did my homework. You think I'm wrong? You do your homework. That's how it works. Before I start, let me say that there's just, you know, obviously, yeah, we know there's such a thing as Social Security fraud. We know there's such a thing as bad things that have been happening for decades. We all know that. I think we can all agree on that. We probably don't even have to have facts, evidence, and explanation for that, because it's something inherent in our nature to understand that big government usually has big problems, and fraud is one of them. But the whole argument about the millions of people receiving Social Security and the 112 years old, no. The research on that was very simple. I mean, again, Google it, put the word research in there, put the word document in there or whatever, so you can find the exact research document. And you can do it from the SSA website. That's where I get all of my information, if I don't go to the actual code of regulations and look it up there. So the 112, the whole 112 million, or millions of people, 112 years old story, was a study that was done from the SSA, and it was come out with about 6.2 million people that currently would have been 112 years old should they have still been receiving benefits. But at the time, the data from 2008 to 2011, which is, what the is that, 20 more years ago, 30 years ago, 2000, let's say 2011, and then what's that, 21, whatever, 15 years ago. So the data was way old. It was produced, once they put it all together, it was produced in a document in 2015. That document is what you'll be able to read about. And what it clearly shows within the document is that all of those records, the majority of which, by the way, are paper records, which don't update because people don't, there's never been enough people working at Social Security. They would need to take the physical document, pull it out, sit down with the stacks of them, remember, millions of documents here, and put them into the Numident system. If you don't know what Numident is, the numerical identification. And so that computerized system within Social Security locks everybody's Social Security number to their name. If it finds a duplicate name, I mean a duplicate number, if it says, hey, wait a minute, John Doe and Jane Doe both coming in at the with that Social Security number, the computer system kicks it back to basically secondary inspection, where they actually have to be able to kick somebody of it off. So they'll drill down and find that out. All those records, those 6.2 million or 5 million, whatever it was, those 6 million people, those names were in the system as the documents, but they weren't in the Numident system as we knew it back then, because, or I should say, they were in the Numident system as we knew it in that sense. But the one thing that was missing was the actual death certificate. Without the death certificate coming to Social Security, the notification of the death, whether it's the coroner or whatever, or the state or whatever, then the Numident system does not update. So if the Numident system doesn't update, it's easy for someone to go into the data and go, look at that, there's 6 million people that are still alive with Social Security. Right, well, when they further went and looked at those, they found there was about 13 people out of 6+ million people that appeared to still be receiving benefits. So there is no, that part of the fraud is not fraud. The Social Security system and the Numident system is pretty good about not letting that happen. You don't have duplicate numbers that are not actually caught by Social Security and flagged. You don't. Google it, research it, look at the Numinant system. But does that mean that there isn't fraud? No, of course not. There's a shit ton of fraud out there. You know, the biggest, I suppose the easiest way to have fraud within Social Security with respect to the numbers is just by people, either one, making up a number, just making up a number so that they can work in the field or whatever. Or they actually get a Social Security number from someone else, like their friend, family, or maybe someone they met on the street. And actually, even right now, there are brokers. For all these immigrant workers, there are brokers out there that sell them Social Security numbers, literally. They sell them a Social Security number. The person, the immigrant worker, takes the Social Security number, goes to the workplace, submits the Social Security number, gets the job, works their ass off, and hell, some of them for 10, 15 years may be working on that same Social Security number. That Social Security number could belong to someone. Yeah, maybe a child, maybe someone who's been dead for a long time, maybe someone who lives down the street. And on that note, there are those people too. There are brokers who go to poor people and say, listen, we would like to use your Social Security number. You're not going to get in trouble for it. No bad on you. And we're going to give you some cash. Now, here's the guy who has no cash, who has no much of a life going on. Maybe he's sitting in, where's that place with the pink underbelly or whatever. So they Social Security, and yeah, I don't care, and they let him use it. The problem with that, though, is that if you have a Social Security card, I mentioned this in a previous video, get yourself the Social Security account online, because that shows your work record, shows every dollar you ever made and every work you ever did. So, but if you were a couch potato with a Social Security number and you never really did anything, you haven't been working a whole lot, and then you sold or otherwise, you know, let somebody borrow your Social Security number, and that person worked for like 10 years, you know, and they had a good job and they made a bunch of money, and that money record goes on your number, on your record, and you're thinking, damn, and then you just reach retirement age. So now you're going to retire, and you're going to get a Social Security benefit. You're going to get a Social Security benefit. So your check is a fat check, and you're thinking, "Yeah, buddy, thank you." And then later, then it's working out right for many people. That's working out for them right now. But then later, what happens is that person who had the Social Security, the wrong Social Security number, or borrowed yours, let's say later in life, they get a Social Security number. They actually get a real one, right? Because they married somebody or whatever. They get a real one. And now they go to work or register or whatever with that real Social Security number. And then the Social Security system says, well, wait a minute, John. Here's your new Social Security number, but what's this other one? And the guy says, well, I had that, you know, I borrowed that from my friend or whatever. And he said, oh, well, you can't do that. What Social Security will do is they will transfer the 10 years worth of credit that he worked to the new number. So now he's eligible for his own retirement, whatever. But they'll go back to the other person and they'll say, hey, dude, I think you knew that these checks were not really should have been paid to you. That's overpayment. So what are they going to do? They're going to claw it back, and they're going to say, yeah, sorry about that. You've been collecting Social Security for like 10 years or 15 years. Nice checks. Yeah, you owe us all that money back. Or, you know, your real check would have been $50 and you were getting $500. So you're gonna give us $450 a month back for the last 10 years. So that's fraud. Okay, that happens to people. It happens even today probably. But that's one example of how the fraud would work. All the other instances where you're not actually knowledgeable and you're not taking the money and this and that, all these other guys that are making up numbers or that are using fake numbers, all the immigrant population that are doing this, and oftentimes with knowledge of the employers, the employer the employers now, it's not mandatory, and that's probably what could fix this, and maybe Musk should do that. The E-Verify system is made up for employers. All they got to do is punch in a social security number of someone that comes to work for them, and it'll show that person whether he's valid or not. But if the employer says, look, I need somebody to do this work, if I put that number in the system, they're going to kick him back. They're not going to put it in the system. So they need to make that mandatory. But anyway, so all these people that work out there, all these numbers go out and they're all working. Well, they're all working, yeah, and they're all paying taxes. $37 billion. I just read this morning. $37 billion. My first value was 25 billion from an older study, but more currently, about $37 billion. Those immigrant people are putting into the Social Security pot, and they're never going to see it. They're never going to get to touch it because what they're doing with respect to they just want to work. They're working, they're taking their wages. That's all they want. You take my taxes out, I don't care. They're not even filing for tax refunds. They just boom, because they don't want to do that either, maybe bring attention to themselves. So they just deposit that money, and that actually brings up another topic really, or another problem, is because I'm all for legal immigration. Let's make everything legal, and we're doing all this mass deportation, right? Mass deportation. Well, if you're going to deport 20 million immigrant people, and I'm going to say the majority of them are actually working, putting into the pot. That means that 20 million people, 11 million or something, the millions of people that you kick out, you're also kicking out all the money with them. So the Social Security that got 37 billion last year, yeah, if they're all out by the end of this year, then you will not get 37 billion next year. You'll get whatever, 10 billion or something. But so that further reduces the pot of Social Security. And I made reference to that. How do we fill back up the pot? Do you raise taxes on the rich? Well, I suppose, that whole, back when the taxes were 50% for the rich, or 30 or 40 or 80 or whatever in some countries, that's all a different topic. But I think the easiest way to, maybe, in terms of taxing the rich, and that's what they're talking about now, and I think Trump said something about it, which was really raising the cap on the FICA. So, you and me and everybody like us that are making less than $176,000 a year are paying tax that goes into Social Security. If you make more than that, you're not. You don't have to. So you don't even have to be a billionaire. Hell, man, if you're making more than 176,000. But certainly, billionaires and trillionaires now, I think we have a few. But if you're making a shit ton of money, you're a millionaire and all that, hell, just pay a little more tax. Pay raise the cap from 176 to, I don't know, 1,076,000. So at least you can get more money. Actually, you know what? They wouldn't raise if they just ignored the cap. Then everybody would pay, and you'd probably make some good money for the system. But if they just raised it, it would only affect the people who raised. So even if they raised it to $2 million, then really only the people that were making up to $2 million would be paying whatever the cap was. So it still wouldn't touch the rest of the millionaires, multimillionaires, or the billionaires or trillionaires. It wouldn't even touch them. If we want their money, their chunk of tax, then you got to either take the cap off itself or just assess it another tax or whatever, I guess. But yeah, that was one of the issues, or not issues, but one of the comments I kept taking issue with in my head, because I had read so much about it before, and when I first heard it, like, a few weeks back or whatever, about there are millions of 6.2 million people, or millions of people, and they're still out there. They're over 112 years old and stuff like that. That's all bullshit, man. Do the math. Look at the data. But does that stop people from jumping on it and going, yeah? You know, people were in the comments, Musk found 6 million people were still getting their Social Security check. No, they weren't. And by the way, those people from back then were actual citizens. It wasn't a big immigrant population that was doing that. You know. And it doesn't really, to me, I mean, we are going to continue to have fraud. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what Musk does or Trump does or Biden did or Obama does. It don't matter. It don't matter who the next president is. It doesn't matter what's going on. Fraud is inherent in every society. Will it take a different shape in the future? Yeah. Because if Musk is able to put safeguards in place, what will happen is those people that are committing fraud or that want to commit fraud are just gonna figure the work around the safeguards and create a new avenue for fraud. So all the people in comments are going, it's about time he fixed all this. He ain't gonna fix nothing. He's not. He's gonna change things. That's what he's gonna do. The same with Trump or any other president gets in line. They're going to change the way we do things. They're not going to really be fixing nothing. You know, what was one of the things I saw today? I mean, you can use the word fix for some of it, I suppose, like fix an injustice. Those kinds of things. Like the veterans. There's like 8,000 veterans who now get back pay and re-enlisted into the service because they were the ones that were forced out from COVID, right? For not getting a vaccine. You know, I can appreciate that. You know, it was, I mean, granted, we did have a public health crisis and it wasn't faked, it was real and people died. But could there have been a better way than kick people out of the military? Couldn't you give them a different assignment or something or whatever? I mean, but, and so by executive order, they get to go back in. Actually, they still had an avenue to go back in. The previous administration had created, I forget what the act was or whatever, but they created the avenue that those people could reapply now and work with the what is it called? Work with Department of Corrective Measures or something like that to make it right. But that was this whole bureaucratic process that the average person in the 8,000 was probably like, nah, that bullshit, I'm not doing that. But now with executive order, it's streamlined, so now they can kind of evidently get straight through the pipeline to get back there. And I don't know, I'm sure they'll have data on it later, but I'd like to see how many of the 8,000 take up on that offer. They might certainly take up on all the how many years of back pay. What was it, 2019 COVID? So 20, 5, yeah, like 3, 4, 5 years worth of back pay. That's probably pretty good. But some of them might be disillusioned by the whole deal and say, you know what, no. And then they just not going to go back. And now, but sadly, actually, and another group of those veterans, which are the people who resigned because of it. During COVID, they didn't want to get kicked out. They said, you know what? No, I'm not going to get kicked out. I've already had a number of years in there. I'm retiring out, or I'm just going to not re-enlist. I can opt out now. Those people, they don't get that part. They're not part of the 8,000. So they're not affected by the executive orders. So someone who resigned and left and is now saying, oh man, well, I want to go back. They're not part of that executive order. So it might be a little bit unfair for some of them. what's actually another area of being unfair in terms of the veterans, and they've never, I don't think, I'm sure there's someone trying to go at the administration to try and help, but you know, and if you haven't seen these stories, you can Google that too. And that is that just across the border there in Mexico, there is an increasingly large group of U.S. veterans that are no longer allowed in this country because they got deported. They got deported. They might have served 2 or 3 tours in Iraq, and I mean, there's like Purple Heart guys, there's Bronze Star guys, there's a lot of veterans that have been bounced out because you know during the, remember Obama was the right, he was the what do they call that, the deporter king or something like that. So even though Trump is, I think I saw he was like a 700 something a week being deported, Obama was like 680 or something like that. So they're very close, although now I think Trump wants 1,200 a day. I mean, 1,200 a day, and that's where Obama was about. He left office, I think it was closer to 800 or something. So it's still relative, but during those years, people, they would get kicked out for, deported, for a traffic ticket. Maybe you had a DUI, you got, you were drunk, you hit a light post or something like that. Turns out, yeah, I'm sorry you have PTSD and all that because, had to kill a bunch of babies in Iraq or something. But, yeah, we're gonna kick you out. Or, you didn't come to court for your traffic ticket or whatever. I mean, yeah, you beat the shit out of your friends and y'all got in a bar fight. Yeah, you're getting kicked out. So are there some of these veterans that have been deported because of violent crimes? Yeah, probably. Because, go look at all the veterans who served in our recent wars. See how many of those have been arrested already for violent crimes. That any normal person would say, there's some issues with maybe, post-traumatic stress there, from the war. But anyway, I remember watching the documentaries and stuff on those guys just south of the border. And there's a great group of guys that really it's been an injustice to me, and all it would take would be another, what do you call it? Executive order. Executive order could say, you know what? Those veterans, and I think there's a specific name for them. Those veterans abroad, or those veterans, south of the border, whatever the group is, can now reapply for entry into America. Some of them actually, some of them did go to jail in America. Maybe they served their year or 2 years, what it was, for a DUI, and then they got deported. So they actually not only served their country for many years, but they did their time for their crime, and they still are out there. So I don't know. To me, that's a little bit of injustice. But with the 8,000, I hope a lot of good comes out of that, and these people feel redeemed. Because certainly, if you got kicked out, if you were forced to resign from the military because of the vaccine issue, knowing what we all know now and everything, you were traumatized. Hell, you got PTSD from that probably. You're probably seeking counseling and everything else from that. So being able to go back in is probably going to be very beneficial, not only to your mental health, but certainly, to your financial health, unless you got out and got a great job and were making a ton of money. Now you're like, I don't want to go back there. They're going to be making nothing or whatever. But yeah, that's a great story. I think they're probably going to do a lot with that in terms of following up and writing about it and seeing how those guys work out. I hope it all works out for them. But for this video, I know it's been long. I am definitely rambling. And another comment said that too. They said something about, well, something about rambling, But yeah, the comment section, whew, pretty brutal. And I'll probably get a shitload of comments on this one too. I don't try to be I'm not trying to attack previous administrations or the current administration, or, you know, Trump versus Biden, or Musk versus Trump, and whatever. I look at things objectively. I do research, I develop some opinions, make comments, but I try and share research-based information, not shooting from the hip because that's what I think I heard on the radio. No, don't do that. You know, you got to be careful what you say out there. I mean, I'm not saying anything bad. I'm not, you know, clickbaiting this shit. You know, there ain't no reason for someone to send me death threats and all that. I haven't done anything wrong. You know, but I'll tell you what I am is that I'm pretty computer savvy. So, you know, bring receipts if you got something to say that, you know, I said that's totally absurdly wrong. There was one person who made a comment and tried to clarify something for me, and I was wrong. I think I was wrong. Yeah, actually, but it was something minor. They said something like, their only comment was, expat? What the fuck is expat? You're an immigrant. And I thought, what? And so I Googled that, because we always refer to ourselves as expats over here. As expat. And then I see that, in fact, expat is really, in most definitions, it's referring to someone who, you know, lives in another country with all intent to go back to their home country, or otherwise, you know, spends time in both places and this and that. Whereas an immigrant is someone who moves to another country with the intent of living there permanently, which is me, because I plan on staying here in Thailand. And so yeah, I'm an immigrant. So I told that person, I go, I stand corrected. I'm an immigrant. Which is probably pretty consistent with the fact that I have to check in here at immigration for my visa renewal. So, yeah. But yeah, if I'm wrong, I'll straight up say it. I don't care. I'm not going to sit there and try and justify something that I was wrong about. But if you're wrong, then suck it up. I clearly proved a lot of people wrong in certain comments, but you know what? None of them reply. Just crickets out there. Crickets. You know, if you're wrong, if I shared something and you're wrong, and I'm not being mean about it, but I just clip the data or the fact or the document to you or whatever, so you can see that, you know, hey, feel free to say, oh, dude, didn't know that, thanks. I'm glad, or cleared that up for me. I made a mistake, whatever. And say that to each other too. Be nice in the comments if you can. I know some of you hate what's going on, you know, and you hate that side and you hate that side, but come on, man. Do you? Do you have to? You know, should we just all get in one room and split the arena down the middle and just freaking go at it like Vikings, and we'll see who wins? Yeah, buddy. But anyway, I wanted to make this video, get this video out, just to clarify a few things and share some of the rather comical comments that I got on that previous video. And before my battery heats up and overheats again, let me just say, for all the new subscribers, of course, if you're new subscribing to the channel, you're doing it not because of this kind of content, right? This video about Social Security. You're probably doing it because of the other 400 or 500 videos I have about my content here on the farm, which I hope that's why you subscribed. I mean, I will make a couple other Social Security videos as they relate to some of the concerns we have for overseas people and immigrants that, you know, or people that went to America and worked and now they're here and they need to retire and this and that. So I'll have some other informative videos regarding Social Security, but by and large, my entire content is, boom, my life here on the farm. And I'm working on that project right now, getting ready to do some more rendering and fixing up a walkway. But yeah, so I appreciate that. I appreciate all your comments. The crazy people, and swipe up. And I'll see you online, but thanks for watching, and keep watching, and I get back at you with more action from the Thai farm.